Welcome to another episode of the Art City Tattoo Podcast, the channel where you can learn everything you need to know about tattooing, where you can improve your tattooing skills. And if you're a tattoo enthusiast, you can get as much information as you can so that you can make better choices when it comes to getting your next tattoo. I'm super excited today because I have someone super special here with me today. We don't know each other a lot, so we're going to be getting to know each other more personally here in this episode. But I'm super excited because this guy is a total tattoo nerd. He knows everything and anything you can imagine about art and tattooing. This is the guy. He's like a total library. So I'm going to dig into his brain today and we'll see what we can learn. Franco,
How you doing, Chris?
what's up, my brother?
Pleasure being
What's
here.
your last name, Franco?
Gomez.
Franco Gomez. So Franco, and your social media is
Franco Gomezart.
Franco Gomez Art. So you guys can find him in his social media, Franco Gomez Art. Do you have a website or anything like that?
Work in progress.
You're working on your website?
I recently changed my username
Okay.
because I was using one that I have been using since I was
Yeah.
13, and now I'm in the middle of redirecting all that.
Okay. But people can find you on Instagram,
Instagram
mostly.
There's also a Facebook page.
Okay.
Which I have linked to Instagram, so it's the same
Okay.
thing.
How do you prefer for people to reach out to you?
Instagram.
But like, do you like? Because I know some artists are really weird about DMing and they have a
I
form.
like DMs.
That's fine with
I
DMs.
like DMs.
Yeah, I like that too because it's like more personal.
Not only is more personal, you get a written record of everything you talk about. Over the
Oh,
phone, I don't like that.
you don't like the
Because
phone?
Some people like to push and pull with what was said and what's not said.
Okay.
When you get a written record of prices, agreements, pictures, this and that, not only can you go back,
Yeah.
or like designing the piece or whatnot, and see what they really wanted,
Yeah.
you always have like text.
Yeah, I've found myself in that situation too where I can't remember how much I quoted a client or something like that, and I go back and
Yeah.
there it is.
No, and even if you like your prices happen to change and you want to grandfather someone in and keep the same pricing, which I like to do that.
Yeah.
I can always go back and see what you charged me the first time and kind of.
Yeah. How do you actually, now that you speak about that, how do you go about that when you change your prices substantially? Do you still grandfather people into the old pricing, or do you increase a little bit, but maybe not as high as maybe you're charging the new clients?
So, first, I would like to say that every time my prices have changed, it's never been me. It's always the clients that change my prices. So it's always a change that happens organically for me. I don't know. I know it's not the case.
In what sense? Can you elaborate on that?
It will happen that, for example, you see that maybe you start to get booked up further ahead, and then people by themselves they start telling you, when you quote them, they're like, "Oh, that's it," and they're like, "Oh, okay, can I tip you?" Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I think your work is worth a lot more."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Dude, you should charge more. I'll happily pay a lot more for your work."
That's
that
amazing.
happens a couple of times. You're like, "Okay, seems fair." But then everybody, like, once you started getting work with me at a certain amount and it moves up a bit or whatever because of client choices,
Yeah.
I keep those people at the same price. I
Yeah.
never raise it too much.
What's your current rate, if you don't mind me asking?
I work at 1,500 per session.
1,500
For regular work. If it's like a cover up or I'm working over like really heavy scar tissue, then pricing is different. Because
Pricing is a little bit
very
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's super fair, bro. You know, as a matter of fact,
It's pretty average for Miami, honestly.
yeah, it's average, but I think you're highly skilled. You're highly skilled, and I mean, it's like I said, it's fair, it's average, and I mean, it's good money.
It's average for the level of work that we
we do.
about.
Yeah.
You know, if you've been tattooing for a year, unless you're a genius, you shouldn't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
there because you're focused on getting clientele and you're gonna start if you do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, maybe we can talk later because there's something that I think you might like working on for me, and I think you would be like the right guy to do it
I mean,
because I got this tattoo a very long time ago. This was a tattoo that I started getting when I started getting into tattooing. I used to go to this studio where they just welcomed me in and they would let me like hang out. and they opened me up to Guy Atchison and
I was gonna say that's
Nick
Guy
Baxter
Atchison.
and all of that.
100%.
And I created this design inspired by them, but I didn't like the fact that the organic only had, it was just organic pieces. So I started adding different objects into it. I don't know if you can tell right there.
Yeah.
So it's like organic in between different objects. And dude, it sucks that this never caught on because it's such a lovely, lovely style.
It's really cool.
It's beautiful, bro.
One of my biggest influences in like art and drawing, like before I started tattooing, was H.R. Geiger.
Yeah, for sure.
Chief designer for Alien.
Yeah.
Which one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And that guy, he's a monster. Dude, I
Yeah,
have so many books on that guy. And
Really?
for a while, I drew that. Like I really studied his style for a while, and I really like it. And Guy Atchison is more of a, is H.R. Geiger, but more meets tribals.
Yeah.
Because the shapes are very tribal-like.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they totally base their artwork on H.R. Geiger. I can tell. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like to finish it out, it might need like a little bit of modeling. And since you're so good with modeling, just to like get the textures and get the lighting right.
Yeah.
But what I really want you to fix for me is this one right here.
Let me see.
It's a Che. I know. I got this when I was
So you
young.
want to cover it, right? That's what I'm hoping.
I want to transform it.
Okay.
Okay. I like the idea of having. I'm obsessed with like old age.
Okay.
Just because I think one of the things that I aspire to is getting to be an old man and living a full life.
Well, it means you made it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Like I look at people like old people. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want. So.
Well, it depends how you get there too.
100%.
One thing is getting to be old, and like one day you're, it's Thanksgiving and your kids and your kids are there and everybody.
Yeah, healthy, happy, fulfilled.
And there's that old man that is like.
Yeah, no, I know. So healthy, fulfilled old man, right? So I always had this thought of transforming this into like an old sailor. That's like, very thoughtful, he's smoking a cigar, so he would still have to be smoking a cigar, but he could have like the textures, more textures in his face.
Very happy.
You would like to do that?
To get rid of that shit.
Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah.
This was a phase in my life where I had just come from Cuba, and it's cool. It's interesting because when I came from Cuba, I absolutely hated this country. I didn't like it.
Change sucks.
Yeah, and
how old were you when you came in?
I was like 12, 13.
Yeah, all your friends were there.
Yeah, all my friends.
When you're 12, your social circle seems like it's like
Yeah.
it's what's all you have and it's all that matters.
Yeah, no, and we were instilled in Cuba that he was a good man, and
People may not know this, but anyone that leaves Cuba and has any intellectual inclinations, you have to literally re-educate yourself.
100%.
You're gonna be through a phase of at least 5 years where you're gonna be redeconstructing everything you were taught from like first grade to whenever you left, and re-educate yourself because nothing you learned works.
Yeah, no, and
maybe math.
And I didn't do that. And what it did for me, so this image, what it did for me is like it romanticized.
That's what they do.
It romanticized the idea of Cuba. It romanticized the place that I was from. And it was also like a sign of rebellion. Like I was really.
It's an oath, though. When you're here, you do the Pledge of Allegiance. Maybe they don't even make you do it anymore. Over there, they make you swear to be like Che, and if you don't do it, your family gets in trouble. People don't know this.
Yeah. So but yeah, I'm in a different place in my life right now, and I've never had any political opinions at all, just because I'm not informed enough. It's not something that I've ever had any interest in, and I'm not even smart enough to talk about it. I'm not even informed enough to talk about it.
Informed. Okay, I like that word better because you're definitely a very smart guy.
I think we put our intellect into whatever we're interested in.
Exactly. Focus.
Yeah, and for a long time, I put my intellect into like getting high. Smoking weed. I used to smoke a lot of weed.
Well, you could say like that. You could say you were exploring your consciousness.
Yeah, I was exploring my spirituality, and it did a lot for me. I have
some experiences.
But I explore way too long. Well. I explore way too long, and I wish I didn't.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
Plenty of time.
Yeah. But I have some questions here that I wanna ask you because I want people to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
And
sure.
hoping that maybe your story can inspire some people to either get into tattooing or maybe they've had this dream for a long time and I think everybody that I've been talking to, I think their answers somehow give perspective, and everybody's story is a little bit different. So I think some people can relate to you, and so tell me a little bit about Franco, the kid, right? Like, and how does your childhood relate to art? What was art for you when you were a kid?
That's all I did.
That's all you did?
Like my grandma still has drawings from when I was 2.
Really?
Like and I've always had this thing where I can look at something and then when I go draw it I can remember it. So
you can draw it out of memory?
Yes.
Wow.
Like that. And the guys in the studio notice because they always laugh at me because I'm working, here's the client, here's the arm, and I'll have the iPad here because I don't need to look at the reference like that.
No way, bro.
Gaze, okay, cool, and then I remember.
For a while?
Yes, since I was little. So
I
remember there was this cartoon, was a very little kid, and it was the first drawing I had been drawing for a while before this, but it was illegible.
Yeah.
And the first drawing that I ever did that people could tell what it was like a cartoon of Mickey Mouse and an armadillo, something like that. And I drew the armadillo, and it is such an odd thing to draw because it's not like a common animal. It's not an animal that you might see on a book or anything. So it's it was just from seeing the cartoon once, and I was like,
oh
okay,
wow.
Cool. And my grandma kept it. Yeah.
That's incredible. I never had that ability. I had to look at something and just kind of be checking, and I have a drawing that I'm super proud of, and it was the outside of a Nesquik chocolate.
Yeah.
The
cool.
Nesquik chocolate powder.
Yeah.
The rabbit.
Yeah.
I think he was in driving a car or something, and I still have that drawing from when I was, I don't know, I may have been maybe 7 or something like that.
Another thing that I used to do a lot is, so my mom could never ground me because I would do something, she'd be like, all right, I can't leave home. I'm like, okay. I would just draw.
Yeah.
And she never took drawing away from me. That's, so I would just draw at home. So that was kind of always my plan A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But the other thing was with the armadillo story and stuff like that. I remember, do you play any video games at all?
No, not really.
No. So there's this game called StarCraft.
Okay.
A really old game, came out in 98. I was born in 98, by the way. And I remember as a very little kid, I saw someone once at the university playing StarCraft. And this thing I was marveled at it because it's like a strategy game where you take your units and you make them build this and pick these resources and build that, but it's futuristic. And what I would do is I would take paper and I would do this management. I would draw the main fortress, and I would do the guys picking up the wood and the materials, and I would do the other guys doing this, and I would it was like a map full of
units out of the game that you saw.
I obsess over things, dude.
That's
I find
cool.
something I like and I obsess over it.
That's amazing. That's really good. No, and the fact that you actually would do it at such a young age, because for me, I always had the ability of drawing, but I never actually did it. I was always just out in the street playing, you know what I mean? And then as I got a little bit older, same thing, when I was in high school and all that, I had as a matter of fact, I didn't even consider myself a creative person.
That's crazy.
The first tattoo that I got done when I was 17, I had a friend of mine draw it for me because I didn't feel like I was creative enough.
That reminds me of someone really important to me. My art teacher.
Yeah.
When I first came to the US, I had this guy, and we're still friends. He drew for the first time when he was 17. He told me, I think, and hey, he'll never be my art teacher.
Dude, it's
never too late.
It's never too late. I started tattooing and drawing when I was 20.
That's amazing.
Yeah, bro.
Congratulations.
Thank you, bro.
You have amazing work.
Thank you.
I'm glad you got there.
Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, it's like I said, it's never too late. I think I always had the skill. I just never really honed it. And then I was lucky enough to meet a guy that he was a tattoo artist at the time. He's still a tattoo artist, incredible tattoo artist. And he told me look, you need to know about like certain subjects if you want to get into tattooing. Like you need to know about like anatomy, lighting, and all of that. And that just kind of opened my mind up. I was like, oh wait, like this is actually a science that I can learn. And that's how I approached it, because again, I never felt like I was creative. So I approached it from like a very technical angle, and that's why you see that my work is so like structured and technical.
That's a really good point you just brought up. So in Latin, and even in like Proto-Latin, the word for art and science, we have two words for this, that never existed. So it was the arts.
So the arts,
you were a surgeon.
The arts encompassed science and
yes,
art.
Yes, it was all the same thing.
Yeah.
It was all the same thing.
Yeah.
Because look, as an artist, you're essentially a very avid observer.
Yeah.
You have to look at the world.
I like that word.
Understand it, and then be able to deconstruct it and reconstruct it.
100%. Right?
So, and that's, for example, and they would consider anything that you do, like with good enough, let's say, everything you do with good enough skill, with high enough level of like craftsmanship, was an art. So if you're a surgeon and you're the best surgeon, you're an artist. You're an artist.
Yeah, and I also, when you look at Renaissance artists, like I think maybe like Leonardo da Vinci,
they were all polymaths. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and I'm really into like numerology, and his number was number 4, and 4 is a number of structure and like engineering and stuff like that. It made me realize, because that's my number as well, it made me realize that he actually wasn't an artist in the sense of a creative. What he was, like you said, he was an avid observer, and art was a way for him to depict the things that he was like understanding in the world. How he was figuring out the world through art. And I feel like that's kind of my approach to art as well. Like
art is a vehicle.
Yeah.
You gotta pick.
It's true. It's a way of like understanding the world.
For a while, it was the substitute for reading. You want to teach people lessons, life lessons, and stories. Not everybody knew how to read and write. You would paint it.
Yeah.
And they would walk into the church and they would see it and they're like, oh, that's a pretty good point.
That's cool.
It's the stained glass and all that. And then it turned into perhaps like Leonardo, like actually creating flying machines and studying. And he would draw it, but because he didn't have calculus. He didn't have, you had to draw. You had to draw
to figure it out, to picture it, and make sense of it and make a structure out of it. So now, you always drew, and then did you have any art classes as a kid, or you just kind of did it naturally? At what point do you start getting into art classes?
So I never formally got instructed until very late.
Okay.
So for a while I was just riding that wave, and since I started so early, I always had like a margin of sufficiency compared to everybody else my age, right?
Yeah.
So like, drawing contests in school and stuff like that, but I never had a really art class per se. And even the few times where I did, a class can only go as fast as the slower students.
That's true.
Which is fair. So most teachers would just, hey, you do you, and then.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So then the first time I actually got formally instructed, it was when I also remember it's Cuba. Private classes are just unheard of. If you wanna buy your kid private classes and you're a normal family, you have to choose either you eat or your kid gets private classes. That's about it. Yeah. So no. I moved to Italy later, and in Italy you start specializing since high school.
Okay.
So over there, here you have just high school, which is general, and they make you waste your time for a couple of years, and then you waste some more time for the first 2 years of college, and then you may not even graduate. In Europe, obviously every system has bad things, but I like this, which is you have psychology high school, languages high school, arts high school.
Oh, wow.
So you're already there. Like you get to high school, you're already figuring out what you like within what you like. So even within art high school, you have jewelry, architecture, all of these photography.
That's incredible.
So I got there and,
You chose art, obviously.
Yeah. Even. And that was the first time where I was in an actual art-oriented environment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then at what point, what made you choose tattooing as the medium that you wanted to go into?
I always liked tattoos.
You always liked?
Since a little kid.
Do you have tattoos?
Yes. I have my elbow done. I have my shoulder done. I have my chest done. I have one on my leg, a tiny one here. Okay. Nothing crazy. I'm planning to get more this year.
Yeah. You're probably just really picky, right?
it's hard to delegate.
No.
It's hard to delegate. And I find that I enjoy them more when I can find someone that I can go, you do it. I don't want to have any part of it.
Really?
But that's hard.
What about, see, for me, I like creating the design because I have like a vision of how I want the aesthetic in my body to look. But then I find the person that I know that can do the job.
Yeah, that's where I find out good.
Yeah.
So some of these have been the ones I have. I like black work a lot. Funny enough, I do realism, but I like getting black work.
Oh.
And these are done by Elena.
Okay.
Elena Lamberti, I believe. She's great. And she
I'm
does
not
black work.
familiar
So
with
this
her.
one, she even free-handed it, and I told her, you go ahead, and I love it. Dude.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite.
Okay. Are you able
I
to
don't
roll
know
this
if-
as well? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, this is completely different from what you actually get
The opposite.
tattooed. The
And
complete opposite.
on the shoulder, I have the Eye of Providence, same style.
Okay.
On my chest, I have a raven.
Okay.
Kind of looks like an eagle as well. Bird. Cool bird. And
So at what age did you start getting tattooed? Because you're 25 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
18. I waited.
You waited 18. Okay. You got your first tattoo.
Chest first.
Okay. And so when you were getting tattooed, were you already thinking
I was already an apprentice.
you were already an
Well,
apprentice?
I was already attempting to learn.
To learn.
It's very
Okay.
different because depending where you land, they're not gonna let you learn.
No, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are some tattoo studios that they basically use apprentices just to exploit
Labor.
them for work, for labor, and
They did it for me for
and you know-
designs.
really.
I could always design really good. All I needed was to learn how to translate, and they kept me stuck in that limbo of helping out with designs for a bit. And I told them, listen, by January I'm gonna be tattooing with or without you, and that's how I did it.
Yeah, I went to like 2 or 3 studios. They all told me no. And I was like, okay. So I just I bought some tattoo machines and I started tattooing at home. That's basically how
Good
I
for
did.
you. Kinda know what I did.
I
not
was,
what I did, but
I was young and irresponsible, but within,
almost everyone's right.
yeah, but within, I don't know, within, I guess, my faculties, I did the best I could. I never had any issues with any kind of like, how do you say, gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. Like, nothing got infected.
Yeah, you were always clean, regardless.
Yeah, I was always clean. I never
That's
had
good.
any issues.
That's really good.
So,
I mean, that's really the main concern because it's not illegal to suck.
yeah,
It's not illegal to do bad art. It's illegal to get someone sick.
That's the problem.
So, right,
exactly.
as long as you keep your
Yeah, and obviously, that's not something that I condone. And you know, the law, the rules say that you're not supposed to do it in a place where you also sleep.
exactly.
Luckily, I didn't have any animals, but obviously, so I was tattooing I lived in Louisville at the time, Louisville, Kentucky. Those houses, they have basements. So I was tattooing out of the basement of my house, which no one slept in.
Yeah.
And also, we didn't have any animals, so
I don't know exactly what the code for the health department is. It's probably several pages long, but I know that in your house you can't.
no, for sure.
But at the same time, that's, obviously if you're looking to start out and you're thinking about starting at home, I would recommend you try to go to a couple studios or shops
For sure.
and show portfolio, come in with drawings and show them that you really want to learn and what you already can do.
Yeah.
But most importantly, because when you learn by yourself, you learn so many bad habits that then you
True.
have to unlearn.
Yeah.
So you're essentially gonna learn how to tattoo twice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, and another important point is there that you just said is that you have to have a solid portfolio before you go to get a tattoo apprenticeship. Like, you cannot go from like with your homework from art school.
No.
Like, you actually gotta show the person that is going to teach you that, like, hey, this is actually something that I do, and here's my work. I'm actually producing work.
Yes.
And the more that you can show them, the more they're gonna take you
It
serious.
doesn't even have to be tattoo related.
No.
Just make sure it's something that you do.
Yeah, and that they can see like consistency, that you're actually putting work and effort into it. Because if not, forget it. They're just not even gonna.
You just reminded me of something. There's a question people ask me a lot.
What is it?
It's like, especially people who are starting out. It's like, oh, give me any like tips, tricks that you have. I'm like, dude, there is no tricks. You want to get better, you have to draw.
You have to draw.
You have to paint. There is no getting around that. That's like trying to get big at the gym without lifting the weights. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You can have the best genetic predisposition. You can even do steroids if you want. You're not gonna get bigger until you lift the weights.
No, and also the thing about the thing about that is that tattooing in itself is just a medium.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know art, if you don't know the theory of art, if you're not painting, if you're not drawing, if you don't understand structure, lighting, like all these things we're talking about, design.
Well, you're gonna be limited. You're only gonna be able to do what you see on a picture, and that's it.
And that's it. No, and even limited to the type of pictures that you can do, because you're gonna be basically doing very two-dimensional stuff. I see a lot of artists who are, they're professional artists, quote unquote, and they have an illustration. And the illustration doesn't have any lighting, doesn't have any shadows, doesn't even have any cell shading, and they just basically outline it and do exactly what they see. If it has like a little smudge on it, they'll make the smudge. Like they don't even have the ability to take an illustration and light it.
This is happening a lot with AI. AI hallucinates a lot. So when an AI, when a neural network that is geared towards doing images makes mistakes, that is called a hallucination.
Okay.
And that's when you see those things that looks like detail, but then you zoom in and it's like a nothing burger.
It's nothing.
There is no real detail. There is just noise.
Or like 7 fingers.
It's like visual noise. Yeah, those are hallucinations. People will copy that.
Yeah.
And if you know anatomy, you'll see that this eye, the distance between the two eyes is not another eye. There's something going on there, but they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's how you can catch them.
Yeah.
Especially with that illusion of detail where they're doing that.
Yeah. I'll be honest, like I use some AI images and I notice some of the things, but I don't mind to a certain degree. I mean, if it's something insane,
I've paid myself too with it.
Yeah.
But it's just how you use it.
Yeah. 100%.
There's a right and a wrong way to do everything.
Yeah. 100%. I've seen a lot of those mistakes, and like some of them I'll correct them. Like if it's something that I feel that is gonna make the image look ugly, but the way that I approach tattooing is I'm not so concerned with the proper way it should be. I always approach it more in like, does it look cool and is it beautiful, and does it have structure, does it have some level of structure, and like is it good enough? I'm a perfectionist, but to like a certain level. There's a point where like I'm able to let go.
You're an utilitarian. You care about results.
I care about results, huh?
Yeah.
So what's that word again? I like
utilitarian.
That. Utilitarian.
You're like, my dad always told me this, because I would like, for example, when I would set up like a big drawing, like a city and stuff like that, I would like do it by hand, and he's like, set it up in 3D, and then just paint over it. You did it. It's all you anyway. And I'm like, oh, that's cheating. And he's like, no one cares how you did it. They just care how it looks.
No one cares.
And so that goes for like.
So wait, how would you do it instead? How would you do it instead?
What do you mean?
So he said that he would tell you basically just block it out.
Yeah.
And then render, like do paint over, right?
Yes.
How were you doing it instead?
I would like do my 3 points of perspective, do all the lines, and then like go like
just go
the autism way.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's no productive. You're wasting time. Literally, you're wasting time on something that you can't do already.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's something that I've learned. I've learned to be this way, and I've learned to be this way. I think it's just like at the age that I'm at and maturity, and understanding that like if you want to achieve certain things in life, you gotta have a certain level of urgency, and you have to like let go.
Yes.
Sometimes it's better just to get things done than get them done perfectly. Now, I don't have that same philosophy when it comes to tattooing. I'm probably one of the slowest tattoo artists that you will ever meet. Like because for me, there is a responsibility in the fact that this is going on someone's skin for the rest of their lives.
That's what I was gonna say. Tattooing is different because it's already, it's not for you. It's for you, but it's not just for you. It's already a collaboration between you and your client.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
And there's that responsibility, like these people are going to wear this for the rest of their lives. And I got to make sure that, bro, I can't get myself to cut any corners.
Well, but that's why you have clientele. That's why they come to you. They know that. People
100%.
see that, dude.
No, for sure.
That's why you're doing great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. You're doing amazing as well, bro.
I'm trying.
I'm
putting in the work.
How long have you been tattooing?
I believe a good 5 years now.
A good 5 years?
Yeah.
It's crazy because like, for me, when I saw you, it's like you came out of the woodworks. Like I didn't even, because I'm pretty familiar with, every tattoo artist in the city. Not that I know them personally, but you kind of know, you're on social media.
What's the first instance of my work that you saw?
Bro, I don't know if it was like, terrible memory. I don't know if it was like something that Victor posted.
Oh, so recent. somewhat recent?
It was recent. I'm talking about. I mean, I reached out to you.
Have you read
and
my
I was like, yo, your work is dope. Yeah.
The best artist no one knows about.
The best artist no one knows. And I'll tell you, I agree with that. I think your work is stunning. Like I said, I would not ask you to do a tattoo for me if I didn't think so. Like I'm
Thank you, man.
super
really
picky. Like I have a lot of projects that I want to get done, and I haven't done them just because like. Well, for one, I don't have the time and the commitment to be able to commit to it now.
Yeah.
But also, there's that thing of like, that person has to be either on my same level or they have to be higher.
That's why I always say equal or better. Can't be worse.
That's what happens when you're a tattoo artist. That's the only way you're gonna allow someone to tattoo you. If you love yourself and if you love your body, that's what's gonna happen. By the way, I'm doing a collaboration with Sean Foy. You saw that, right?
He's so cool.
That man,
he's my brother, dude.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet him, bro.
I actually just had dinner the other day. We're actually gonna be recording a couple podcasts, me and him, and we're gonna do a collaboration.
I'm gonna have him over too.
He's insane. You're gonna love having him, dude.
Yeah.
That man's vibe.
I can tell. He's super friendly, super chill, good vibes.
Very smart guy. Incredible artist.
Incredible artist.
Very smart.
Yeah, and we might do something in we might do some a mural or something. Have you ever worked with
murals?
Spray paint?
I did murals, but they were with brush, like painting.
With brush?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried spray paint at all?
I believe I did, but I didn't have the money to afford it at the time.
Dude, I have so many cans of spray paint. If you ever want to mess around, just let me know. We can get together. We can do something.
So in my old art school,
yeah,
in Italy, there was this one day. Well, it was like a 4-day thing, but it was like a one day that if you were good enough, you could apply, and they'll give you a wall of the school for you to like do graffiti on.
Okay.
And I did it once. And I did it was a monkey smoking weed.
Nice.
But
in your school?
Yeah, in the school.
That's
they let
funny.
me.
What was spray paint?
It was brush.
With brush.
I used some spray for some things like the backgrounds and stuff like that. But again, I couldn't afford
the
good cans and the good tips.
You know what's funny enough? A lot of people think that I'm like an old writer, that I've done this my whole life because I'm very influenced. You see, my art has a lot of influence from graffiti, but I'm actually not. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was when Mashcal started showing up in social media. He's amazing, right?
Great.
And it was the first time because, I wasn't really into graffiti. I was into tattooing. But it was the first time that I started looking into the medium and the art in itself. And for me, I always had an issue with realism because... So my thing with realism is that you're not painting a canvas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A composition in a canvas, it allows you to have a lot of empty space and things that don't have, things that don't have detail. And, you usually just have like a center of attention or a main subject, and everything else you just kind of loosen out.
I struggled so much with that at the beginning. I believe, to this day, I'm still consciously working on not doing that because.
Oh, not doing that?
Because
that's how you were taught.
I always did not only on a square format, which is even when you do digital art. For screens.
Yes.
But canvases. There's no.
Yeah.
Arm-sized canvas.
Yeah, that's true. So for me, what happened was I always felt that tattooing was missing something because I would see the tattoos that would just be the subject, and then it would just be this bland background, and that just annoyed the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like it was missing something, and it needed something graphic, it needed something abstract. And when I found graffiti, I was like, oh shit, this looks cool. And I like stuff that's urban. I like urban style. I'm not a very classical guy. I do like classical painting. I like classical art, but I don't know, for some reason, to me, because of the way that I like tattooing, I don't think it translates too well to tattooing. I don't in the sense of it's very painterly. The palettes are very muted for the most part, and I don't think they stand the test of time. I mean, I've seen many tattoos done.
Well, the tattoo is also a commercial art. Sorry that I interrupted.
Yeah.
It's also a commercial art.
True.
So there is a truth, which is if you want to get clients, you have to put out bright colors sometimes.
Yes.
So let's say that you do get a client that really wants you to do, master copy of like David and Goliath by Caravaggio. You know, very dimly lit, ochre tones. Like, dude, I would love to do that.
But it's not gonna last.
That's an amazing thing. No, maybe it even lasts. Let's say it does last. When you post that piece is gonna get you less clients than a lion with the blue eyes and the. That's the reality of the video.
That's
so
true.
In a way, your need to pay your bills also influences what directions you end up taking.
Well, what I would do with that Caravaggio is I would saturate the hell out of it. And
Obviously, you adjust.
You have to, because, and I'm telling you, because I used to see it. So my old mentor, he was the first guy that I ever saw here in Miami. I mean, when nobody was doing color realism in Miami, this guy was like 10 years ahead. He was on another level. Javi Antunes, I don't know if you ever
I know him.
Okay, so
we were the only two guys doing ZBrush for like the first. You know, when I was an apprentice, I was already doing ZBrush.
He wasn't my official mentor, but he was the first guy that was better than me that I worked for.
His work is amazing.
His work is amazing. So, but like, you know, I worked with him for about 3 years, and it was the first time that I saw somebody using so many colors, like such complex palettes. And he would use a lot of like muted tones, and I would see his work like come back after years, you know, obviously from clients that he had tattooed like years before and all that, and the colors would just become so muted because the skin naturally is going to mute the color. Even if it's saturated, it's going to bring it down a little bit. So when it's muted and it heals, it heals even.
Yes. There's two factors there that are a big deal for me though.
Okay.
So the pigments are a big deal.
Okay.
Some brands of pigments, I'm not gonna say names and stuff like that. Some brands mute out when they heal a lot.
Okay.
A lot. And that one in specific that you were seeing does it.
Okay.
And that's one. And then the second one is you have to, at least I do it, you have to adjust your tattoo for the color of the skin of the client.
Yeah.
So if I know this, like I have a client, the girl I tattooed at the All-Star Tattoo Convention here in Miami, she was as white as these blinds.
You could put any color on
Any color, and it's healed, and like we're actually close friends, me and you know her and her husband, and man, the colors look brighter today than when I did it.
Yeah.
It just, you know, she doesn't get any sun. She's very pale. That's a reality. So you know, if she was maybe a bit more tan, and even depends on the undertone. Like there's like greenish tan, there's like reddish tan. If she was more tan, maybe I'll just crank up the contrast, crank up the saturation. So if it does mute, then it lands on where
you want it. Yeah. What brand of ink do you use?
Radiant.
Radiant?
Actually, shout out to Radiant. I'm sponsored by them.
Awesome. I've never tried them. I should check them out.
I always say this, like, even if I wasn't sponsored by Radiant,
you would be using
I
them.
would be using them.
Okay. I want to take a moment to thank you for watching this video and for supporting our channel. If you like this type of content, please make sure that you hit the subscribe and the notification button. Also, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment below. We will go through every single one of your questions so it can help us improve the content that we're making for you. Also, it's going to help us understand what it is that you need to learn about. Our goal is to make high-value content with easy-to-digest information that is going to help you along your educational journey in the beautiful world of tattooing and art. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you back in the video. I'm gonna have to check them out. I've been using Eternal for a long time.
I think my first set, like my very beginner set, was Eternal.
I've loved them. I mean, I've never had an issue with them.
I always felt they were, for the way I work, a bit watery.
Really?
But at the same time, I didn't have the experience I have now.
I find them thick. I actually, when I lay the ink on the calves, I always grab a diluent and I pour about 4 to 5 drops in each ink cap, 4 or 5, maybe 6, and then I mix it with the mixer.
Oh, with the
in order to soften them out a little bit.
Never diluted things.
Oh my god, bro! It helps so much.
I actually kind of like my pigment a bit thick.
Yeah.
Very weird.
But the thing about that, for at least for me, what I've realized is that and this is something that I tell everybody, because a lot of people think that we're actually injecting the ink in the skin, and it's not. You're simply just like opening the pores, and the skin becomes absorbent.
Yeah, you create a vacuum and then it goes in.
Yeah, so the skin, any surface when it's porous is going to become absorbent, right? So when you're breaking the pores on the skin, what the skin is doing is literally soaking up fluids like a paper towel.
Yeah.
That's essentially what you're doing, right? So, but if the particles or the fluid itself is too thick, it's harder for it to be absorbed.
Well, obviously, I mean, I'm not talking about, when I say that I prefer my pigments to be thick, I'm not saying like, when it's like drying out and you like...
Yeah.
I'm talking about a consistency where it's not runny.
No, yeah, I don't like runny. Runny's no good.
No,
runny's no good.
When it bubbles up, like,
yeah.
I don't like that.
And even if there's any colors that I pour out that are runny like that, I don't use any at all.
What voltage do you work at?
Bro, I work at so many voltage. I do it by feel.
Really?
I do it by feel. So I'll tell you sort of like the way I think about it. When I'm doing outlines, and this is when I'm doing outlines, not outline on like a realistic piece, when I'm doing like an actual solid outline,
stuff like that.
yes, I use a Spectra.
Flux.
No, the older one. I like the Scion.
Yeah, I have it.
I like the Scion. I love that machine. So I run that machine at about like 11.5 to 12 volts when I'm doing outline, because I want to do the outline in a single stroke. The way I do, I don't like building it up.
Oh,
like once I pass, it has to be like solid. So
it's less trauma to the skin.
Less trauma. It's in there, and you get a more solid line because it's consistent. It's one single stroke, right? When I'm doing black and gray, I may work at like anywhere between like 8.5 to 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Faster, right? Faster. Is that faster for you or?
Dude, I work everything at like 6 or 5.
Really?
Everything. Color,
Wow.
black and gray, everything.
Dude, how do you do that?
Dude, I don't know how to explain it, but with color, I tried everything, right? Like you do experiments as you're working. And one day I was like, let me figure this out. So I just put out the needle quite a bit, drop the voltage all the way down. One pass.
But you're not moving your hand fast, right?
No, but
you're slowing your hand down as well.
Very slow.
Of course. Because you got to move it at the pace of the machine.
But ironically enough, I work super fast. So it makes me do really good timing, because I find, for me, because at the end of the day, everybody has different.
I'm going to try it
and all
out.
that.
Yeah.
For me, dude, the color goes in one pass.
Yeah.
So it's just.
And I guess that's a good lesson. Like there is no such.
There's no right
thing.
way.
There's no right way. You got to find the way that works for you, because everybody has their own pace. I've known artists that they run their machine to color at like 11 volts.
Insane.
And they don't hurt the skin, but they're working like this, like super fast.
Yeah.
When I do color, I work at about 7.5 to about 8.5, depending on what I'm doing. Like if I'm doing something that is going to require several passes and blends and mixing,
what stroke is your
3.2.
Oh, that's why.
3.2.
I use a 4.0.
You use a 4.0.
Stroke changes so much. Have you ever tried like a high stroke?
I've tried and I don't like it.
Really?
Because it changes the position in my hand that I'm used to. So
if you try it again,
I'll give it a shot.
Drop the voltage.
Okay.
All the way. Almost there. It's gonna sound like you're doing dot work.
Really?
It works for me. I mean,
I'll check it out, bro.
Friends of mine that work with me in the studio that run their machines at 7.5, 8 for everything, and it works. They do amazing work.
Do they use the same stroke as you?
Don't know.
I think
I just changed machines, so I'm gonna have to ask.
I know you can change the little wheel in my machine that changes the stroke, and I believe I have like 3.8, so I'll try that out. Yeah. Which is very close to 4. Yeah, 4.0. Yeah. I'll try that out and see how that goes.
Yeah, because 3.2 to me was always. I think I tried a 3.2. Like the Halo used to be 3.2.
Yeah.
And I always felt it was too underpowered for the way I work.
Yeah.
Because since I like to do things in one go, I don't like to build up anything, like you said. I felt like 3.2 for the way I work was not enough.
How many hours do you spend tattooing? Like, how long are your sessions?
Well, until the piece is done. Is the real answer. Because I don't design ahead.
But what if the piece requires...
Well, I only design what I know I can tackle in a day, give or take.
Okay.
So do you design at home like ahead of the
Yeah.
piece? I don't.
Yeah.
So I get to the studio.
It depends. I do both.
Okay.
Just depending.
So I get to the studio. I draw really fast.
Okay.
So I get to the studio. I take a picture of the zone in person.
Yeah.
And then with the client live, I do the design.
Yeah, because he can give you input and it gives you a better idea of
And there's
what you
no
want.
way they're not gonna like it. You
Yeah.
know, that we're taking executive decisions over the design with me. So.
Yeah, together.
Yeah.
I did that for a long time until I started shifting my designs over to like just with a little bit more complexity. Like these designs that I do that have like graffiti and wording, and they're like they have a lot more like elements into it, and it takes me quite a bit of time to actually get a composition that I really like. So those designs, go ahead.
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
So those designs, I always do them at home. But I read the client out. Like there are some clients, bro, that I know they're not gonna want something like that.
That's what
They just want something that is like plain and simple, and I can just wait till they get here and I can design it with them. Or I might do it. I usually do it like the night before, and I'll send it over. They'll give me the thumbs up.
Never send it.
I
never send it.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was gonna say. So the only pieces that I do design at home are when the client tells me, "You do you." Like I'm not really here for the piece. I'm here to collect your work.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm just like, okay, cool.
I would say 80% of the time, I do it at home. And also because I'm stupid with computers.
Oh.
And like
iPad, dude.
No, yeah, but when it comes to I don't have an iPad. I have a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro.
Okay.
And it runs on Windows, and
I have a
sometimes
Cintiq.
sometimes it's stupid.
Yeah.
And it gets like sometimes I have issues, and like just to account for that, I'm like I'd rather do it at home, make sure it's fine, because if I run into some issues here, then it's just gonna delay the day and stuff like that. And
No, so at home I have a Cintiq. That is what I use for like the heavy load programs like ZBrush and stuff like that. But most of my tattoo
I have one of those at home too.
really happens in the
iPad. I don't own an iPad. I need to buy one.
I was skeptical, but I was one of the first adopters of the iPad Pro and Apple Pencil. Like,
Yeah.
The let me tell you this. When I got my iPad Pro and my Apple Pencil, I was like just starting out as an apprentice. And the studio where I started the shop, they were still doing the stencils like by hand and all that. And I had to do like this tour of teaching everybody how to use an iPad and how to use Procreate and how to trace and print and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were telling me earlier that you like you had some concept about like teaching as well, right? Like how.
Before we move away, how long are my sessions?
Oh yes.
So like I said, I do the design in person. Let's say I come in at around maybe 12 or 1. I actually start a bit late sometimes.
Okay.
Get there, I do the design, print, stencil, size it up. Let's say I start tattooing maybe at around 2,
Okay.
maybe 3. I usually leave closer to like 10.
Okay, so an average of about 7 hours or so.
Sometimes I left at 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That's like the outlier sessions though. Those are not regular, but it's really until the piece is done.
But you're tattooing every day? Are you tattooing 5 days a week? For the most part?
For the most part, yeah. You get cancellations, and when I do get a cancellation, honestly, I'm like, cool, day off. I'll draw instead.
For sure.
But
how do you spend your weekends? What do you like to do?
So Saturdays I work always.
Okay.
Yeah, Saturdays.
Your days off. Let's just say your days
off.
off.
Okay, days off. I like working out a lot.
Do you have 2 days off together, or do you have them?
So I'm always off on Sundays.
Okay.
I never work Sundays, and because it's the day my to-be wife has off as well, so
nice,
we spend thank you. We spend it together. And the other days it's like, hey, this client cancel, cool, Wednesday off.
So it can vary.
Yeah.
It can vary whenever. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so what did you say you like doing?
I like
just
working out. It doesn't look like it at all, but I like working out.
Well, you have a small frame. But
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I did swimming for a long time.
Okay.
So my metabolism is like really.
What kind of working out do you do? What's your?
Oh, right now I'm
workout?
just focused on putting on weight.
Okay, so you do like a bodybuilding style?
Yeah, I guess just like high weight. I don't remember the word now. When you progressive overload.
Okay.
But a lot of calisthenics as well.
You do a lot of calisthenics.
So I have I'm into guns, by the way. I have like carrier, and that's how long it's like 20 pounds. So I put on the plate carrier and then I do pull-ups with that.
Nice.
Or like sometimes I fill it up with mags who are full and then I do the pull-ups with that.
How many times of the week do you work out?
Almost every day if I can.
Almost every day?
Almost every day if I can, yeah.
So is that why you get to the studio a little bit later? Because you like to get your workout in the morning? And...
That's one, but I also like to work out really late at night, like 1, 2 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love those workouts.
And then you go to sleep. But do you have a hard time falling asleep after you work out? Because I know it kind of messes with the...
Dude, I've never struggled with sleep.
Really?
I'm one of those people, that's it, over.
I used to be that way. I'm starting to struggle now. And I think it's because I'm forcing myself to sleep less. I've been sleeping for like on average 5 to 6 hours a night.
Okay.
Just to maximize my time. I'm a single dad of 3.
Congratulations, by the way. That's amazing.
But it takes up a lot of my free time. So whenever I'm off, I have them essentially. So
that's ever gonna happen to you.
I know. But the reason why I'm telling you is because professionally, what it does for me is that I only have 5 days where I have to get everything that I need to get done professionally. I have to do it in 5 days.
Yeah.
So I try to like maximize my time as much as I can, and if I can get like an extra hour, 2 hours in the day, sleep a little bit less. But it has been messing with my sleep. I have a harder time falling asleep now.
My sleep schedules are all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah.
Like there's times where I get them right, and then you go back to like going to sleep at 3 a.m. and all of that. But I try to hit the bed no later than 1 sometimes.
Yeah.
But so for example, like on my days off, let's say I try to go to the gym. If I don't manage to go to the gym, I do the pull-ups at home to like supplement instead. When, for example, right now I just started a personal project of like I have a 3D printer, so I'm doing this like 3D model like a Space Marine from like Warhammer 40,000, and it's like a personal challenge because I'm like, okay, I want to do this model and use this one model to do everything.
Can you explain to me what's Warhammer 40,000?
It's a tabletop game. Okay, like you play with like kind of like Dungeons and Dragons if you may.
Okay.
But the figurines you play with, you actually buy them blank and you paint them yourself.
Oh wow.
So it's a 2-for-1, right? Like most people actually play it for the pleasure of painting the figurines or building their army, and some people play it just to play it, right? I do need it. I just like it a lot because of, since I was a kid, I knew about it and stuff like that. I like the lore and the story a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm using it as an excuse to do 3D work because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this figurine and I'm gonna print it and all that, and it's gonna be my own.
So cool.
But
man.
that's just an excuse. In reality, is I want to do 3D and I like it and it looks cool.
I've had this idea because I like drawing these. I'm really into like illustrations and stuff, and I like making these little characters. And I've always had this idea of getting a 3D printer, and that's why I wanted to get into like 3D design. But I just realistically, I just don't have the time to do it right now. Eventually, I will. I know I will, because I wanna have statues made of like my little guys.
Yeah.
So
dude, there's even a 3D sculpting program for the iPad that's coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
not ZBrush, but it's
it's what about Blender?
Blender's good.
I
haven't taken the time to learn it, but Blender is amazing and it's free.
And you can do a lot of.
You can do everything.
You can do everything within Blender, right?
Here's why. Have you ever looked into the pricing for a 3D software?
For 3D software? No.
Insanely expensive.
Okay.
Like Maya, you're paying like $5,000 a year.
Wow.
Unless you're a pirate.
Yeah.
Which nothing wrong with that. So Blender is free. What happens is everybody that didn't feel like paying that amount of money started using Blender, and they keep making it better and better and better. So then, I want to do this. Maya has this tool, but Maya is $5,000 a year. Blender doesn't have it. I'm gonna create and program the tool for Blender. Yeah. So Blender has become the do-all be-all of 3D right now.
3D right
because no one wants to pay $5,000 a year for a program.
So you would recommend me, like, if I wanted to get into
first time 3D user, do Blender. If you don't want to get into like
having different softwares to work with and stuff like that, it kind of just combines everything into one, right?
It's not better at sculpting than ZBrush.
Gotcha.
ZBrush is
the sculpting program.
Yeah, the ZBrush has been around since like the first Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah.
So it has too much of a head start and it's way too good.
Gotcha.
But for everything else, Blender.
I mean, but look at my characters. Look at the simplicity they have. I think they can. Yeah.
Blender will help you.
Blender would help me out with that. I think so. Because I like. I don't know why, bro. I don't translate these characters into tattooing, but I think it's just because maybe I say to myself there's no demand for it, but it's really because I'm not putting them out. Because I could make them, I could tattoo them for free, and I could get people. Yeah. I could build a demand.
Or you could just use them, start out as like an Easter egg. Like, that's like a little rat, right?
Yeah.
You could hide, like, throughout the sleeve, like, hide one of them. Like a cartoon little hole, and, like, it's coming out.
I've thought about that as well.
You know?
I've thought that about it.
And then eventually they will become more prominent throughout your work, and people are going to associate, oh, that's the guy that does the little things, you know?
That's a good idea. I had somebody else tell me that. I should probably listen.
The thing is, you gotta wait for the clients that will let you do that.
Yeah, but they will.
Exactly. You seem to have very, very open-minded clients.
Yeah,
I see your work, and it's very you.
Yeah, it's super me.
Yeah.
But, and it's funny because, like, it's kind of gone in that direction sort of organically. Like, I never had set an intention to, like, oh, I do only this or do only that. But it's funny because, like, a lot of people will ask me, hey, do you do portraits? And I'm like, of course I can do a portrait. I can do anything. But it's just like, you look at my work and you don't really see portraits, but it's like, people don't ask me.
Well, also, you post what you want to do.
I post what I want to do.
That's what I do. Yeah. I realized, like, sometimes, like, I had a phase, like, about a year or two ago where I posted all over, like, black and gray with color-infused black and gray.
Yeah.
And that's all I was getting for months.
For your black and gray, do you actually use the color gray? Or do you mix them, or do you just use gray wash?
Depends on the client.
Okay. Depends on their skin?
Yes.
Okay.
So if the skin allows lately, so this past year I've been doing a lot of gray. So either the gray wash, but I dip it in white, like I have a cap of white just for dipping to, like, because it makes it more opaque.
Yeah,
denser.
It does.
Sometimes just gray wash, or sometimes just gray, pure like gray. Actual gray, which essentially you're doing color.
Yeah. I have a guy here, Luna. What he does is he uses like 2 caps of a gray wash, which I would say is like a medium dark tone. It's maybe like 1/3 black, the rest is water.
Okay.
He has about 2 caps that have the same amount in it, and then he uses the 80 Pancho set or just any gray really, and he's dipping the light values. So. Maybe the number 2 and number 3 or something like that. 1, 2, 3. And what he does is he dips in the gray first, and then he dips in the wash. So he kind of uses gray, and then he dirties the gray with the wash.
Do it the other way. Well, with white, not with gray.
Bro, it's stunning. You gotta. I don't know if you've seen his work, but I'll send it to you over.
Maybe
Luna Tattoo Miami.
I'll have to check it out.
His black and gray is super nice. Super nice.
What I like about it is that, well, the result is so good when it heals. If the client does good job taking care of it, but also.
Oh wait, let me show you. I have one here. So you did this one.
Oh, I saw that at the convention. Yeah. Remember that I asked you who did that?
Yeah.
That's good.
But you see how it kind of has like a pasty
That's
color
what I like.
It almost looks like gray, but it's not quite gray.
It heals
sort of in the middle.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
And when you just do it, since white is opaque, it doesn't have transparency. It's not additive. It hides the blood. So when you go take the picture, it doesn't look as red because the gray is getting in the way of the red.
The gray is getting in the way of the red. Well, you can always desaturate the picture anyway.
But if you want to be more, Puritan about it, and I don't want to touch red pictures and all that, that's a good way around it.
I got you. Are you a Puritan about it?
Yes. So okay.
I knew the answer.
This is a good thing. So for example, my videos, I do the special effects and all that. I try to never touch the piece.
Okay.
So I try to do the special effect to like introduce the piece, show the piece, but never touch the piece.
Okay.
Even with the pictures, I like take distractions of the background, like someone's walking up, I take them out, stuff like that. Like maybe darken like the shop, like in the back.
Yeah.
But then nowadays, you just turn off the lights for your shop and you put up a CPL and you're good. You don't really need to do much.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're shooting raw, or like when you shoot the videos, you shoot them in S-Log.
This part of my ignorance, what's a CPL?
The polarized filter.
Okay, polarized
filter, yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, like, for example, with the pictures, that people who don't know photography don't know this. A phone picture, by the time you get a picture with your phone that you see it, there was so much computing done by your phone without asking you, because phones, it's like a streamlined way of doing everything. So the phone takes the picture and runs it through like 100 neural networks to like adjust all the values and contrast to make it look like what you saw.
Yeah.
Cameras don't do that. If you have this set up in like RAW, so when you take a RAW picture, the camera is just telling you,
This is exactly what.
here's what my sensor saw. It might not be what you saw. You have to develop that and later in post production.
Yeah.
So I shoot RAW. My videos I shoot S-Log. Which, have you ever shot S-Log?
No.
So the video looks like completely washed out, super low contrast. And the reason the camera does that is like for when you do post production, it's way more rich.
Gotcha.
Like it has more color information, but it looks super flat, and then you have to like compress it manually. So that's what I prefer. I rather have more control so I can get a better result after.
Gotcha. No, I admire a lot the amount of effort that you put into like the way that you portray your work. Like there was, I know, man, I know. I don't know how you do it. The last one that you just posted.
The Spawn.
Bro, the way that you projected that tattoo is so creative, it's so beautiful. That in itself, the post in itself is. We're gonna put this one up. We're gonna. I
like to have fun with it though. Like I want every post to be like a small event. I'm like people to go like, oh, shit, that's pretty cool.
It's stunning, bro. It's absolutely stunning. I love your work.
The thing is, I do it for myself because I know at the end of the day, the more effort you put into a post, you post it, 5 people see it, your friends are gonna love it, people who know are gonna like it, but the average person is gonna be like, is this?
Yeah.
Just scroll by.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I think that would be. I mean, from what I'm getting from you and getting to know you and understand who you are and how you think and just your level of intellect, I think that would be a great role for you to play in the world of tattooing as a teacher. As a teacher, because I feel that a lot of tattoo artists, including myself, I focus a lot on just tattooing alone a lot. But I think you're just very well rounded, and you could, I mean, all that information that you have, you can synthesize that, you can simplify it and package it into an understandable, like easy to understand packet that people can learn and they can implement to, you know, how they edit their pictures, like how they take their videos, like how they, you know, because it's so much knowledge in itself. Like there's so many things that you know. It would take years. Yeah. So you would basically compress all of that into like an easy to understand packet, and I think that's where I see you at. Like that's where I see you in the learning. So in the teaching world.
We were talking about this earlier. About a couple of years ago, I had this epiphany, if you may.
Yes.
Where like, you know, you just wake up one day and you're like, wait, I think I will like that. You know, and I started thinking, I'm like, man, I think I want to give back. Like, I would like to share.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of these things that I learned, I had to learn them on my own, by myself, on YouTube, figuring it out.
Yeah, me too.
There was no one out there.
Yeah.
So I feel like if there's, you know, we're all special to our families, but no one's really special. Like, there's 1,000 guys like me out there who are going through this similar enough journey like me.
Yes.
Right. You know.
They're just not you.
Yeah, you can only be so unique, right? It's not,
yeah.
And I feel like if I could shorten their journey by sharing, you know, my struggle, I'm like, hey, look, I had to do it the long way, but you don't have to. Here's
100%.
I feel like I'll be cool.
That's exactly how I feel about what I'm doing, but it's not just about tattooing in itself. The way that my upbringing, the way that I grew up, I actually made a post about this today about like mental health and stuff like that.
That was awesome, by the way. I saw someone actually.
Someone responded, bro. So it really gave me confirmation, because I feel like this is, it's my life purpose. I think that I'm very spiritual, and I believe in a higher power, and I believe that everybody has their own path that they're here to do.
Yes, 100%.
So, and there is a spiritual purpose to everything, and I believe that my purpose, and what I sacrificed was living a life, my earlier years, of a lot of struggle. It was mental struggle. It was no direction. I had no guidance.
A lot of people struggle.
I was very, very lost. I dealt with depression. I dealt with drug addictions. I dealt with a lot of things. And somehow the only thing that, well, there was a few things that anchor me to this life, because I would be dead otherwise. It was my kids. Having my kids was the biggest blessing that I ever had, and it was art. Because I was struggling everywhere else in life, but at least
You had that.
I had art. And not only did I have art, which was like something that I really enjoy learning. For me, it was all about like the learning aspect, not the doing. It also allowed me to be well off financially. Not like super well off financially, but I never struggled financially.
Yeah.
So even though I was struggling mentally and with a lot of other issues in my life, it was like one thing that was off my plate, right? So, and it's led me to become the person that I am today. And I feel that there are so many younger kids out there right now, bro, that could see me as a role model and see that, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that they can, come out triumphant. And deep down, I feel like my calling is to do that, to teach you a craft, to teach you something that can give you what's the word, to give you a livelihood, but at the same time to teach you how to have like a healthy lifestyle, how to be positive. Like,
that's really beautiful. I want to dwell on that thing that you just said a little bit. So
yeah,
you said that.
I love the way you speak, by the way. I'm obsessed with your with your
Fucking nerd.
yeah. No, I love the way you speak.
If you like, you're like. Yeah.
I really like the way, how eloquent you are and how articulate you are. No, but
you saw me like just chilling and we're just having beers, it'll be.
No, but you're super articulate. Like lately, for example, there's a lot of words that you said that I don't use on a regular basis because they're not in my library. But lately, what I've been doing is because I do want to improve that part of my life. Lately, every time that I hear a word or I read a word,
words are powerful.
They're so powerful,
like
man.
The most nerdy thing I've ever said, but if you learn, and this is something I learned, obviously,
to communicate properly.
If you learn to be precise with your language, you're gonna save yourself so much trouble.
Yes, and I'm not precise enough.
Less misunderstandings.
Yes.
You're gonna be able to, and this is something that I learned and I've seen it happen to me.
Yeah.
Because I was doing mistakes, and it was more of a, but not only are you precise enough, people understand you, but you're also able to assert what your intentions are just based on the way you speak.
Yeah.
You're being able to be transparent about.
Yeah, and I'm not a precise communicator in that sense. No, but
you're effective.
I'm effective,
which is better.
But I feel that I can improve by adding more vocabulary to my arsenal, right? So what I do is my arsenal. So what I do is when I read a word, I write it down, and then like on a daily basis, I'll like read a word and I'll try to remember it.
What happened to me is like it was really frustrating because Spanish is such a rich language. The Spanish is immense when it comes to vocabulary.
How did you get to have such an extensive vocabulary? Because English is not your first language. You came when you were 13.
I was frustrated. I came here and I have this, how to say, you were painting before tattooing?
Yeah.
Right? So you knew how to do all of this, and then you get to a new medium and you're like,
shit.
I have all the knowledge, but I can't put it down.
Yeah.
I have all of these things that I know how to apply in other, but now in this new language, which arguably tattooing is compared to painting.
Yeah.
Right? You're still you, your knowledge is still in there.
Yeah.
It's just a different language.
Yeah.
You gotta do that. And that's what I felt happened to me. I'm like, no. I want to be able to be as articulate in English as I am in Spanish. And that's...
Well, I don't think I was ever as articulate in Spanish either. I need to work on both of them. But, so how did you become articulate in English? How did you... Is that something that you consciously did? Or would you just translate things?
Well, at first I used to say a lot of really funny shit.
Okay.
Like I would try to directly translate and it doesn't translate, and my art teacher, the guy I talk about, he would laugh like, dude, what? My accent was super thick, which it probably still is, but I just I guess reading helps.
I've been reading a lot lately.
Watching videos, and just paying attention.
Do you like to read?
Yes, but I don't put as much time into it as I did because I like to read really dense things.
Okay.
It's like right now I'm reading like the Federalist Papers. It's like the founding documents of the U.S. and like
holy shit,
King James Version Bible, that I'm actually trying to eat through. But it's like, let's say you eat a little bit, and like, it's hard to be the guy you want to be, right? It's like, I wish I was that guy that sits down and just reads the whole thing, and like, I can only do so much.
Well, there's also a time management thing because you gotta have a life too. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of audiobooks lately. Like what I've been doing lately is, as I'm tattooing, I put my headphones on because I'm tattooing 8-9 hours. So that's time that I can utilize to learn. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. Yeah. I've been doing audiobooks as well.
I do those two things all the time.
That book, don't forget, I'm gonna send it to you. Contagious.
It's good.
It's an amazing book because the book is about this guy who studied the psychology of why content becomes contagious.
Okay.
And he breaks it down to 6 different traits, or like 6 different qualities that a content must have. It doesn't have to have all of them, but it can have a variation. Yeah. It can have all of them, right? But just to not like ramble on, for example, one of the principles is emotion, right? So, but not, so at first he thought it was like, oh, when content makes you feel happy or positive emotions, you share, versus when it's a negative emotion, you don't share. But then later on, he realized that when you get pissed off, you also share.
Yeah, you're more likely to react out of anger.
And when you're content, you don't share. Mm-hmm. So what he understood was that the emotions that make you share are emotions that activate the body.
It's fight or flight.
And then there's emotions that deactivate the body. No, for example, like funny shit activates your body, right? Like if it's funny, it activates your body.
Oh, I see.
If it's motivational, it activates your body. Cool. If it's angering, it activates your body. Like informational, it doesn't really activate your body. It has to be like maybe you're into that specific information, or you know somebody that.
So how do you marry that with your calling of like doing more educational content? If you're saying already that info dumping is not necessarily very attractive to people.
That's a good question. I still think that there is a demand for the information, because there are the people that I'm trying to reach out to are people who they're looking for this information. They need it. So that in itself is going to so what I want to do is integrate motivation.
Yes.
Okay. Because motivation is activating. Also, I'm thinking about it more in the sense of like the way, like right now I'm going to be recording a commercial soon.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
I'm going to be recording a commercial, and I wrote the entire commercial based on the knowledge from the book.
So that's something that I struggle with. So you said that you didn't really know about my work, and part of that was because I was always, everyone goes through phases.
Yeah.
I believe probably when I was younger, like before I came to the US, I was a bit of an asshole artist. I was more of I've struggled with self-esteem when I was younger, and like sometimes.
Haven't we all?
Sometimes we make up by cranking up your fake ego.
Your assholeness. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I believe that what happened to me was I focused solely on my work, and then you learn. Doesn't matter how good you are, nobody likes to work with an asshole artist.
Yeah.
And then that was several years ago.
No, and another thing that I could see happening is that you're so goddamn intelligent that everybody around you must seem like idiots.
No, not at all. That's another thing.
But maybe when you were younger, don't tell me. Tell me now.
When I was younger, it was more about, for example, let's say I was in art school.
Yeah.
My approach was more like, all I care is about art, because this is fucking art school.
Yeah.
So I was an asshole about everything else.
But you're like, come on, people, hurry up. Like, I already got this shit. Let's move on type shit, no?
No, because I had a really close friend.
Okay.
And he was good at everything I was bad at.
Okay.
We kept each other humble. And
that's cool.
Forget about everything else, and we just compete.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was great architecture. I sucked architecture. So I would try to top him on that, and then like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
I am very driven by like competitivity. I was. Now it's more, it's turned inward. So now I'm always competing with myself from yesterday, right?
Gotcha.
When I was younger, it was always like kind of outwards.
Do you have
Sorry, hold on. I just remembered.
Okay.
I was gonna say that you said that I really liked.
Oh yeah.
You said that, which I find amazing, that you struggled when you were younger, and that art kind of helped you anchor it.
Oh, dude, it was.
And there's something amazing about that, because it's true. You just made me realize this, which is there is no real end goal in life.
No.
The end goal in life is, well, first, biologically stay alive, and second, stay alive as good as you can. Keep doing better.
Yeah.
Keep doing better, and eventually,
Growing.
if you're doing better, you're gonna help others do better, and then you can turn that outwards.
Yeah.
And become a better person, and then ultimately find your calling if you do find it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, art is the same. There's no end goal for art.
There
Like,
isn't.
Is there a thing, like, for example, when you're a doctor, you get a PhD,
Yeah.
or like you're a lawyer, you graduate.
Yeah.
Now you just keep doing it, but you graduated. You have that.
Yeah.
Where's that for art?
Yeah. It's not.
Is it ever enough? So I feel like maybe what you were saying is like you happen to get into something that forced you to keep going regardless.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that probably translated over to your life. It's like doesn't matter how much where you're at, you have to keep going, because that's what happens with art.
100%. And so yeah, and that's the way that I see life in itself as a cycle going. When you find something that you love, right? You find something that you love, you become so good at it that then the rest of the world is gonna need you for that, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is you do that for a certain amount of time, and then you become a role model. And then you become a role model to the younger generation, you know what I mean? And then you pass that information down, you know what I mean? And it's I almost feel like it's the cycle, It's
I feel like personally, I don't think I have the wood to be a role model, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still forming myself. I feel
oh yeah, for sure.
I almost feel self-righteous to think of myself as someone who could be a role model right now.
Yeah.
Maybe once I'm, a little older, or like I've gotten some other stuff together, I feel like maybe I could do that. But as I am right now, I don't see myself seeing myself like I don't see myself like that.
Well, the thing is, like, you gotta think about something, and this is not everybody's calling, but the way I see it specifically is that it's all subjective. You know what I mean? There's, maybe because you have your own standards of like what you believe yourself to be and what you want to be eventually, but you gotta understand that there's people around you that are, I don't want to say below, but they're just not quite where you are, and they can look up to you and use you as a role model.
I see.
Not to say that you're perfect. You don't have to be perfect in every sense.
If I had the opportunity, it would be more of a, look, I already stumbled with that rock. For you to do it, you'll take the lesson.
Yeah.
Like, here's what happened to me. Maybe
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like maybe if someone's, like you said, a little lost. This has actually happened to me. I've advised a couple clients of mine, and they've actually found a career and stuff like that. Just through the
I've done that too. I've done that too.
But I don't know. I am very hesitant about letting myself wander into the thought space of becoming a role model for myself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a slippery slope, and you see a lot of people who end up like maybe preaching, like, you see it a lot in the industry, like false humility and stuff like that, just because they want to position themselves as the guy everybody looks
as the body that everybody looks up to.
And that's really dangerous. I feel like if you do end up there, it has to happen organically.
Yeah.
Like your growth takes you there. I wouldn't like to force it.
Yeah. 100%.
So like I said, for example, I am interested in putting out this content, and if it resonates with people and people happen to like it, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm never gonna like, I don't know.
That's a really interesting perspective as well. Yeah.
I feel like, what is it? The best king you can have is the king that didn't want to be.
Yeah, that just became.
And the guy that wants to be king is the king you should never wish to have. Like,
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
So I feel like if you do your things, if you follow, I don't know if you believe in grace, but if you follow grace and virtue and you cultivate that, eventually you will probably find yourself
100%.
passing it down,
Yeah.
helping others along in the journey.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to get to that point, you're not gonna cultivate that grace that is gonna allow you.
No, 100%. As a matter of fact, I've gotten to a point in my life where I no longer have goals. And what I mean by that is, I used to have goals. Like, I used to want to get somewhere, right? But what that would do for me is it would cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty and fear of like, what if I don't reach my goals, right? So there was a way that I solved that in my mind, and the way that I solved that in my mind is I changed the thought to do your best, and let's see, like, with curiosity, let's see how far you can go.
Do your best, and God does the rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see how far you can go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because for a long time I was frozen by the fear of failure in general. Like all of my 20s, I spent them just overthinking about everything that I wanted to do in life, and actually not doing the things that I wanted to do because I was afraid that I was going to fail. But ironically, I was already failing because I wasn't doing it, right?
We're suffering in anticipation.
100%.
People don't realize that anxiety is something that you can discard.
Yeah.
It's a choice to be anxious.
Yeah.
And this is going to be super controversial because literally nowadays they literally medicate people for anxiety.
Yeah.
Everyone has anxiety. If you're a functioning person with goals in life or lack thereof, you're going to be anxious. But
it's like a body function.
Yeah, but if you're going to realize that, wait, you can rationalize anxiety, you can kind of look inwards. Maybe not discard it, you're always going to have maybe the itch, but you can at least choose not to engage with it. It's like a drunk guy trying to pick a fight with you. You don't have to fight that guy.
Yeah.
He's there, he's going to happen. You don't have to fight the guy.
Yeah.
You can walk away.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's kind of how I try to see it. You know, we still fall prey to it. You still get nervous. Things still happen. I was nervous for this podcast, but you can overcome it.
Yeah, you can overcome it. And so when I was gonna start this podcast, it was funny. Like the very first podcast that I was gonna do, that day I was watching my YouTube podcast that I always like to watch or listen to, and there was this lady that she has a book. I don't know her name because I have terrible memory, but there's a book that she made that's called Be Seen, and it's about the same thing. It's about just like personal branding, and you know, she became a personal brand, and I think she was an actor first, or she worked for like a heavy metal band. I can't recall, but the book, it has to do with finding your own way of like finding your reasons to create your own personal brand, and why it's so important. I actually bought the book, but I haven't read it yet. And there was one thing that she said. She said, just think about that one person that's going to hear you, and you're going to change their life.
Well, I think the tattoo industry is moving into that direction right now. I think what's happening in the tattoo industry, and I've been seeing it, and I think that's the direction I want to move in anticipation before the big pivot happens. I want to kind of get ahead of the curve, which is when I first started apprenticing, there was very few people who were tattooing who were classically trained, or who could take advantage of the technology as it was getting better.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Now
there's a lot of people.
There's really good people, and you saw that like every convention you go to, like the Miami one, it was the first one.
It just gets getting better and better.
It's insane, right? Yeah. So now the client is no longer picking quality of work.
Yeah.
It's picking who do I want to sit next to for 8 hours.
Yeah. Well, not only that, they're also picking, because the quality is all there, but they're also picking style.
Your style is you.
Yeah.
A style is just a collection of habits you pick up as you get better.
That's true.
Right, so your style is a mirror image of your journey. It's just in a graphic way.
100%,
right?
I agree with that.
So you say you found mesh cuff, this and that.
Yeah.
You lean into this and that. That's your style.
Yeah.
Your style is you.
Yeah. 100%.
So your client is really, when nowadays the client, especially when you get into the price range where kind of we work at, I feel like the client is no longer picking, oh, this guy's work is better than this guy. The client is picking whose vibe resonates with me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that's personal branding.
100%. 100%.
And I feel like I was having this conversation with Sean. He was like, I remember like maybe like 2015, tattooing was in another phase. Tattooing was more like, the cool thing was like you were like this anonymous tattoo artist, you're posting all the crazy work, nobody knows your face, this and that. That's not valid.
No, it's not.
That doesn't happen.
It's necessary. And I'll tell you something, it's very important that you move into it as soon as possible, because there will be maybe about 10 years of personal branding, and then it won't matter anymore.
Exactly.
Because then everybody's going to be doing it, and then at that point...
No, and then you got to find something else.
And then you got to find something else. There's going to be the new thing. There's as I was telling you about Tai Lopez, there's this thing that he talks about. He calls it like, it's like the phases of like just trends or business or whatever it may be, and he calls it so there's a first group of people that do anything, that he calls them the first movers, right? The pioneers. These are the people that like just start something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the second group, the second group is the first movers. So you got the pioneers, the people who start something. The first movers are the people who see something and they're like, that's gonna work, that's amazing, it's new, nobody knows about it, let me move into it. And then there's a gap of time between the second group and the third group. The third group are the pragmatics. And these are the people who they need to see like two other people doing that before they get into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the state that we're at right now.
Yes.
Where it's the pragmatic state, where like a lot of people are realizing like, holy shit, this actually works. Let's make it work. And then the last people who are, I feel like those are the people who are gonna come like 10 years down the line and they're not gonna reap any rewards. Those are the he calls them the skeptics.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are very hard to convince.
Well, I feel like the tattoo industry is following the steps of what's happened to other industries already. So
100%.
like at first music was you had to go to a studio and record, and then it became democratized. Now everyone in their room can produce good music.
Yeah.
And it happened to like art.
Yeah.
At first you had to go to art school and do this and that. Learning more.
Yeah.
You don't have to get in depth. You don't have to go to art school. You can be good. They happen to media and news. The best thing that could have happened to the world is that the news got democratized. Now everyone with an iPhone can be a journalist.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what you do, and that's where you get your best news from. Just actual people, because all of a sudden you can collect and get a general understanding of what's going on. You're not just getting it from one source, and I feel like that's happening with tattooing.
Yeah.
Before it was like the 2-3 guys that made it to Ink Masters and made the TV show.
Yeah.
And that's it, pretty much.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Maybe one YouTube channel that's been going on for like 10 years, who knows?
No, yeah, and before, like, if you had the quality of your work that you and I have, you would just make it just by posting pictures.
Yeah.
And now it's like not like that because there's so many people.
And every day there's some Russian guy coming out of nowhere that is like killing the game.
Amazing, bro.
Yeah. It's cool though. It's really cool.
It really is.
I love that.
It really is. But I think what it's doing is it's making the standards a lot higher. And it's pushing artists to, I think what's happening now happened to like the old school artists who they had to push themselves to like improve their skills as artists when we came about.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, they stayed behind.
Swim or sink.
Yes, and now we are being pushed to be more like well-rounded and to show our faces and stuff like that. And if you don't, you're gonna stay behind. I'm
terrible at picking up threads that I leave out along the way in the
conversation. No, me too,
man. You just reminded me. Before you were saying that the personal branding, and I told you that when I first was in art school, my focus was more, all I care about is art. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then when I started tattooing, it wasn't that much anymore. You know, years went through, it grew, and I had some things that really changed me and stuff like that. But what happened was I was like, oh, well, this is my business, so I'm going to keep this 100% professional. And that is the image I want to give to my clients.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be posting my clients what I'm doing on the weekends. I'm not going to post my face. They don't care. I want people to come get tattooed by me because of my work solely and uniquely.
Yeah.
And then one day I posted a picture of me. And the pictures of me will get more likes and shares and all that than the pictures of the tattoo. And I'm
they
like,
want to see you, man.
What's going on? And then I realized something. It's like, well, people like people. People book with artists, not with the tattoos.
No, and you gotta understand something too. I was actually having this thought today, and that's why this is so hard for tattoo artists to understand. You have two types of people in the world. We are both, but generally you're more of one thing than the other. You have creators and you have consumers, and we are creators for the most part. Like we're not so much focused on the consuming. But I think the consumer side, the consumer mindset, they want to see the artist. They want to see what you're about.
Yeah,
they want to. That.
But even we are consumers of some other medium.
Of something else. 100%.
I guess. Yes. The thing is that it's like there comes a point where you have to come to terms with the fact that because my thought was more of I want to conserve my privacy. Like I don't want to like everybody to know like all of this shit about me and all that. Like I've always been very much about that. Like I always say like if it wasn't because my job requires me to be on social media, maybe I wouldn't even have social media.
Yeah.
But it's I wouldn't even say it's a necessary evil because it's fucking great.
It's great, bro.
Bro, imagine getting booked out a year ahead without social media. Good luck.
But you know what? Like, the beauty about personal brand is that like you can build your own tribe, and you can build your tribe based on things that resonate with who you are. Yes. Like you don't have to show you don't have to be dancing on TikTok to create a personal brand because that's not who you are.
Never guessed that.
You know what I'm saying? That's like just not who you are. That's why like I actually just wrote today. Let me share this with you.
You journal?
I have a lot of notes.
That's really cool.
I just have a lot of notes.
That's nice.
Let me see here. Okay. So I wrote some of the key points that I want to include in my personal brand because tattooing in itself does not make it unique enough because there's going to be a lot of tattoo artists that are going to be making personal brands. Same as like the way that you do a tattoo style, right? It's the things that you synthesize into the tattoo. That's what makes it unique, right? Yeah. So that in itself is what's going to create your personal brand. So for me, I'm going to be talking about tattoos. I'm going to be talking about health. I'm going to be talking about mental health. I'm going to be talking about parental advice. I'm going to be talking about faith and spirituality, motivation, just knowledge, like anything that is informative that I read about, like, you know, some of the things that I've been sharing with you, and just like universal laws in general, like just life lessons, you know what I mean? So because that's who I am, like that's how I perceive and filter the world.
You want to be the farmer that has some grain left over at the end of the winter and just giving it out for free.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like you want to be that farmer that maybe you already worked through your crops, you picked all your stuff up, and then whatever's more than you need, you giving it out. Like all this knowledge that you accumulated, all those things
of course.
You picked up along the way, you're like,
yeah, here
it is, guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It already served me. Maybe it serves you.
No, yeah, and I take joy in that. I take joy in that. For example, that's something that I do on a regular basis. Like in my daily life, when I'm tattooing my clients, that's what I do with them. So basically, what I'm doing right now is only doing the same thing at a scale.
I was just gonna say, this is the kind of conversations I have with my clients.
Of course.
I love, like, that's something, I love tattooing, but at the end of the day, tattooing is just art the same as drawing. What makes tattooing so different to me than painting is the connections.
I know.
Every day you meet someone cool, dude.
Yeah.
And everyone has a life story, everyone has something, everyone has a cool job. Even the jobs that you think are like some people would consider mundane, they're cool, dude. Like people know things that you have no idea about.
I had one of my friends that I had in the podcast the other day, and he said that tattooing was a life hack. Because bro, you get to learn of so many things from so many people and have so many of these conversations. And it's like you can literally pick up your phone and whatever it is that you need, you know somebody that does this.
Don't even get me started on that.
Right?
Yeah.
So use that and
you
delegate.
Set up a trading economy just with me.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. So, just to close off, because I could be talking to you here, bro, probably to like 3 a.m. It's been such a pleasure, and I would love to do this again at any other time.
100%.
We don't have to have cameras on. We can just hang out.
Miami's
and
this
conversation.
big. Just let me know.
Okay. Where do you live at, anyways? Like what area?
Gardens.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just moved to like the Wynwood area.
Oof.
Yeah. I'm closer to my son there.
You're to the good Wynwood area or the bad Wynwood area?
It's not bad. It's not bad. And it's not hectic because it's not really Wynwood. It's north of Wynwood, which is Buena Vista. So it's like a...
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, it's like a suburban type of area.
Nice.
Yeah. But I think it would be really cool if we did something together. I think it would be really cool if we did a piece together.
Dude, that would be sick.
Yeah. Maybe we could do that.
The graffiti and the 3D and all that.
Yeah. I would absolutely love to create a project with you like that. And I also want to hit you up for this because I want you to do that.
Easy.
Yeah.
Let me know. So for the collaboration, would you want to do it?
I've never done one.
A show.
I've never done one. Foy will be the first collaboration that I ever do.
So I just did one with my buddy Enzo. I had a great time.
Yeah.
He told me, it's like, dude, this is the best time I've ever had tattooing with someone.
How many days?
One day.
Just one
It
day?
was one piece between the two of us, but it was
How big? What size? Okay.
But the way we did it, it's like, it was such a wholesome moment, because it's like, check this out. A lot of people, I've actually known a lot of people who end up creating bad blood with another artist because they did a collaboration, because they're like, they end up trying to like compete against each other, like, oh, you're tattooing on my area, like, that's bad. But what happened to me and him is like, well, we work together, but we're really close friends as well.
Yeah.
So check it out, he'll tell me, you're better at doing this than me, you do that and I'll take care of this instead, okay? And he'll be like, okay, well, you do that, I'll manage this down here.
Wow.
And then as we were working, he'll be like, I asked him, it's like, dude, like, from the way I compose, like, what do you think I could do better? I said, well, you see, like, this and that, like, you could improve. And then he would ask me, like, what do you think I could do better? And, like, it was really a growth experience in this collaboration. It wasn't like a dick measuring contest like some people do.
Yeah.
It was more of a, dude, let's do a piece together. And, like, let's come out better artists and the client gets a better piece out of this.
That's amazing,
It was really cool.
bro.
It was really, really cool. I did it in Orlando. I haven't posted it yet, by the way.
Was it a show or?
Yeah, it was at the convention.
Oh, okay, okay. Did you get anything? Did you get any awards or anything? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about doing it in a show.
I'm bad at conventions.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that too. And I tattoo very slowly. I would probably feel more comfortable doing it in the comfort of a studio.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't care, bro. I think it's more about the experience.
The studio is way better because at the convention you're like.
Yeah, I think it's about the experience, and I think it's about exactly that, about the growth. So, maybe there's something that I can pass on to you and vice versa.
Yeah, well, we're talking about, try my voltage, try my machine, let me try yours, and this and that, all of that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's figure that out. Bro, thank you so much for taking the time to come. It's been amazing. Here. And hopefully we can do it again at some other time.
My first podcast, my first long form podcast, and I really love it.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming.
I'll send everybody to watch this. Well, whoever
For sure.
wants to.
It's been amazing. Thank you.